It's nearly a week since evacuation operations began, and every day the demand for flights out of Kabul grows all the more desperate. In the last 24 hours, the RAF has evacuated 963 people. The Armed Forces Minister, James Heappey, confirming personnel and consular staff are now working fully up to speed, bringing home approximately 1,000 people a day. He hinted there would be a second evacuation phase, even after the air bridge closes, but admitted the UK will not be able to get everyone out. With the Taliban controlling access to Kabul airport in a manner ministers describe as officious but not malicious, getting through the gates is people's biggest obstacle, and many are unable to get through, including dozens of interpreters trapped in the city, holding valid paperwork but facing a long wait.
This is such a challenging and chaotic operation. The sheer numbers of people that are trying to get into that evacuation centre and into the airport makes it almost impossible, for the young Toms of Two Power, who are doing an outstandingly good job. And this is not a criticism of them. I'm in awe of what they're doing, but they've been put in an impossible position. The government has got to look at other options. The Ministry of Defence needs to look at other options. It took one awesome interpreter 16 hours yesterday to get through. And there's another that I know of who's been there for 24 hours. He's still stuck there. I'm constantly fearful of time. We should be going 100%, 100 miles an hour to get the interpreters into the evacuation centre now, where they can be protected by British troops, even if they can't actually be airlifted out for 3 or 4 or 5 days.
At least 12 people have died in and around the airport so far. From scenes earlier this week of crowds storming the runway, chasing down planes in an attempt to board, to images of mothers throwing their children into the arms of military personnel, desperate to give them a better life. The airport is people's only way out. Fear, desperation and despair is taking over. Ex-Royal Marine Pen Farthing, who runs Nowzad Animal Charity in the city, shared these chaotic scenes at the airport as his wife left Kabul on a Norwegian C-17, a nearly empty evacuation plane. The UK says its RAF flights are not leaving empty, but many say more needs to be done to stop any flight departing with empty seats. MOD personnel, including members from 16 Air Assault Brigade, have been working round the clock to support the evacuation, named Operation Pitting. But it's not clear how long flights will continue to operate and how many more people will manage to escape. More than 100 guards at the British Embassy in Kabul have been told they are not eligible, as reports emerge of the Taliban rounding up Afghans who have worked for the former government, threatening them with punishment. Jamal worked as an interpreter for the British Army. He's now in the UK but fears for his family after his 16-year-old brother was taken by the Taliban for investigation.
The Taliban came the day before yesterday evening time, and my brother went there to open the door to see who are they, and he was only 16, and then the Taliban have taken him. So my mom, she said, I went outside and screamed and shouted and said, why are you taking my son? He's only 16. So they said, no, we are taking him for some investigation. I mean, we already lost. My one brother has been shot as well. The Taliban killed another brother. This is the third one. I have been shot 2 times as well. How much more do we have to suffer for the work we did for the British Army?
The Taliban's PR skills might be slicker now, their words more encouraging, but few seem convinced that anything has changed or will change under their rule. Criticism continues to grow both sides of the Atlantic, the government holding an emergency Cobra meeting, while the Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab, who was on holiday at the time Kabul fell, was revealed as having failed to contact Afghan's foreign minister before the Taliban arrived. He said he was prioritising security and capacity at the airport first. Figures from NATO record 18,000 people have been flown out of Kabul since the Taliban took over. The US has confirmed 3,000 people have been evacuated on 16 C-17 flights. But many more still need to get out. Those deployed facing an enormously difficult task, keeping the air bridge open with people's lives and future depending on their success. Carla Prater, Forces News.